On this episode of Xtreme Travels, we're going to look at 4 states, 2 countries, and one of the most beautiful and coldest places on Earth. Hey, my name is Mr. X. Welcome to the Xtreme Channel. We are giving away $1,000 statues to you guys. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Now, this crazy trip started with first-class seats from Denver to Seattle. There's my daughter. I don't know what she's doing. Seattle, beautiful city I've been to many times before. My family's been there once. We decided we're going to stay here for a few days, check out some of the local sites, which we honestly had never done. We would have liked to get to some of the mountains. As you can see, they're absolutely beautiful, but we did not. So we decided first thing on our list after we landed is definitely hitting up the Space Needle. Had never been, so wanted to see what it's like. And to be honest with you, while it was cool, it's probably not something I would ever do again. Don't get me wrong, I'm very glad we did it, and it is impressive when you get there, especially to learn about the history. However, you see everything you see. Now, some of the views were a little tainted, if you will, simply for the fact that it was very cloudy, because that's what Seattle is, always cloudy and rainy, although the weather was decently favorable. Did I say favorable? Favorable for the few days that we were there. Here's a few photos from the actual Space Needle. Kind of neat. You can see downtown, you can see the bay, you can see some of the local attractions, which we're going to take some closer looks at in a second. Yeah, I said looks. But still, pretty neat thing. Definitely put it on your bucket list. However, if you don't ever go there, you are not going to lose sleep. A lot of today's videos are going to be photos because we did see a lot of beauty everywhere. Next, we went to the Museum of Pop Culture Art. This was pretty cool. Had a lot of stuff, whether it was from movies or music. One of the coolest things I'll show you in a little bit, but tons of different guitars, tributes to some famous musicians, a lot of stuff from movies. This is Loader. There's my son thinking he's a vampire. And then some props from some original movies like Big Chap from Alien 1. We had Terminator. A little bit more alien stuff. Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, and a lot of this stuff was the props used in the actual movies. Men in Black. Then we found a music studio in the museum. This was absolutely the best part.
Go out! Come in, it's gonna sing. Even it up! Even it up! Even it up!
After that, checked out some other stuff in Seattle, just enjoyed the beauty. Went to Pike's Place Market, which had tons of attractions and food and other stuff you could do. Little fountain in the middle there. Then the biggest waste of money in Seattle, the aquarium. While it had 1 or 2 cool things, not worth $200 at all. Was pretty stupid in my opinion. We will never go back. So we checked out the pier. We didn't go on the famous Ferris wheel, but lots of cool stuff to see or just hang out, whether it's shops or restaurants. A few of the other attractions in the town, like some of the sports stadiums. But after all was said and done, we got all of our bags from our hotel and we actually headed to the train station for a 4-hour train ride, business class, into Vancouver, Canada. Now, if you've never been on a long train trip, you're not alone. This was actually my first time. So Seattle Station, I think it was called King's Cross, or something similar to that, was downtown. It was very, very cool. all marbled up, almost like what you see in movies, which I've been in some train stations before, but never on a long train ride. There's my kids ready to go. As I said, we did business class, so we got priority boarding, a little bit bigger seats, made the ride a little bit better. And you're going to see a ton of different photos here throughout the entire train ride, most of them of the scenery. And while my kids are staring at their cell phones while they bypass all this scenery, it's fantastic. But it was pretty cool to see. We stopped by 4 small Washington towns on the way out, but most of the train was through the mountains and on the coast. Now, unfortunately, the weather didn't cooperate very well, so it looks a little gloomy, felt a little gloomy, but it was absolutely beautiful. We saw so many different bald eagles flying by the train. We just weren't fast enough to take photos of them. But this is truly, people tote it as one of the most beautiful train rides in the country from Seattle to Vancouver. While I don't have anything to compare it to, I would definitely say it was. It was a 4-hour train ride, and I was looking out the window probably about 90% of the time. The one disadvantage, if you're following the channel, alcohol was not included in business class. So since it was like 6 a.m. in the morning, I didn't partake anyway, but it was still a cool way to see the country, the mountains, the forestry, a lot of the businesses along the way. 4 stops, most of them were pretty short in smaller towns, and then we had a long, about 2-hour track where we didn't stop at all. Now this was through Amtrak. Amtrak was very unorganized, unfortunately. I'm sure due to labor issues and things of that nature. And again, just like the Space Needle, I don't think I'd do this again, but it is definitely something you want to put on your list to do once in your life. So we took this to Vancouver to spend a day or two before we got on an Alaskan cruise. So Vancouver, also on the coast, absolutely beautiful place. We had much better weather, as you can see. They had a big beach area with tons of people doing all kinds of things. They have something very similar to Central Park that's right next to this beach, which was cool. So we hung out there for a few days. We wanted to see some of the sights and talk to some of the people. While Vancouver was cool, I really don't have any desire to go back. A lot of the stuff we see there we like better in the Caribbean, but it was definitely neat to see. And we looked at the price of the condos, a couple $1 million for a condo right there, a small condo at that too. But don't regret it. And again, it was a cool town to check out. And they did have some of the things that just blew your mind. Like, look at this view right here. A lot of the pictures you're going to see today don't really capture the beauty that you see in real life. Like, look at that milkshake. That is beautiful. I don't think that the picture is even doing it justice. Here's a Kit Kat one. Pretty cool. So after a few days in Vancouver where it was extremely hot, you saw that the sun was out, we ended up getting to port and getting on our boat with Celebrity after we dried out our swamp ass. So we've been on about 20 cruises, and this was the worst cruise port ever. It took 3.5 hours to get on board waiting in different lines. But once we did on the Celebrity Eclipse, it was absolutely worth it. Before I go into more detail on the Eclipse, here is a quick room tour. This is a deluxe veranda, partial view, and it is adjoining rooms on the Celebrity Eclipse. So an obstructed view means you have lifeboats right down below you. To me, that's never been a huge issue. You can still see the ocean in between it, and you can still see far out. We're still at port right now. Now, because these are connecting rooms, we can actually have them remove this divider because we have the room next door. This is the kids' room, which consists of 3 beds. One is actually a pull-out in the couch, and then we had them separate the twin beds right here. It's a pretty standard stateroom when it comes to cruises. TV, that's interactive. Plenty of storage. Usually there's a power outlet right over here, quite a few of them. And then you have a closet over here, as well as some overhead space. The bathrooms are also pretty standard. When I first started cruising, it was always shower curtains, which, as you can imagine, is pretty awkward when it goes from side to side. But a decent sized bathroom. But because we have adjoining rooms, it's actually a little foyer compartment right here. And there are my children. So here's the room for my wife and I. And the nice thing is you can shut that door. But this room is laid out exactly the same, other than the fact the beds are put together. And I don't believe this bed actually pulls out down here. Some do, some do not, so you have to make sure you book the proper one. Now earlier this year, we were on a different boat. It was with Celebrity. That's our go-to because we think they have a higher class, better food. So I'm not going to go into a ton of detail about the boat itself because most Celebrity boats are laid out almost identical. So everything that one had that I talked about, this one has as well. We started the day off swimming, which was a little bit cold because, again, we were heading north. As we left Vancouver, some more excellent views for sure, not only of the city, but the beaches and the bridge. Now, the great thing about a cruise, if you've never been, is not only the numerous destinations you get to go to in one trip, but on board there is so much stuff to do, from activities to food to alcohol to just relaxing and doing nothing, and they're beautiful. And one thing we really like about normally choosing Celebrity, once you've been on one boat, you know where everything is because it's all laid out exactly the same, but they all do have their little nuances of beauty. So here's a view into the open ocean as we went out. We did a lot of things on board, whether that's me working right there, us just hanging out. I don't have any idea what my oldest son was doing right there. Showing them on a globe everywhere we've been in the world and everywhere we're going. My children are world travelers. They are on their third passports, I believe. And we started to get up to Alaska area, which is why we came on this cruise and what I want to talk about. So the reason we come to Alaska, this is our second time here, is it has one of the most beautiful landscapes you will ever see. Right now I'm just showing you some generic stuff from when we were leaving and as we headed north before we got to our first port, which is Icy Strait. But you're going to see a ton of pictures that show landscape and mountains and snow and glaciers and beauty. And I could literally just sit there all day and watch this on the ocean. So this first part of the video is just more about what it's like to be on the boat, a few snippets. Again, my previous video I did from our trip earlier this year. There's actually a card in the corner right here. You can check it out. We'll give you a few more details, but here's a day in the life. All right, so we're sitting in one of the many lounges. This is an at-sea day. Most of the people are outside enjoying this crap. A little too cold, so we're going in and out. Got the binocs, got the cameras, and you'll see plenty of that in the video. But that's the other cool thing about the cruises here too, is there's so many places to relax, have a little whiskey sour. Although I had to use wild turkey. Hashtag fail. But absolutely beautiful, very slow pace. We're right outside the Hubbard Glacier. Like I said, we just came in a little bit cold. We didn't pack really warm this time. Last time it was extremely warm, but still pretty cool. And the nice thing about days like this is everybody is outside, so it's pretty dead in here. No waiting really anywhere, other than when the dinner bell rings, or the lunch bell. Those people are like savages. Here's just some more shots on the boat, a foyer. They have nightly shows you can go to, musicals, comedians, and the food is unbelievable everywhere you go, whether that's food in the buffet, one of the many different restaurants, snack areas. There's a main dining room you'll see in a second. We actually had really good weather for Alaska. It was cold a lot, but we were able to get in the hot tubs and the pool a few different times, which is always a win for sure. You can see no one else is in the pool because we just have thick skin. There we are at the nice formal restaurant each night, just hanging out. It's a 5-star experience, pretty cool. And then also we had unlimited drink packages, so that led to some crazy stuff. Oh, I think I sprained something. Come on, Chloe Williams, come on down.
Man, why'd you stop?
Oh, I think I sprained something. Come on, Chloe Williams, come on down.
Oh man, why'd you stop?
And if you're really interested about what life is like on the ship, again, go back to that previous video, and then we have another cruise on a Celebrity boat here in a few months. I'm going to focus more on ship life for that, so a good reason to make sure you've not only liked this video, but you've subscribed to the channel and hit the bell notification. And later this month, I'm actually going to do some videos on why we love to cruise in general. Not only with Celebrity, which is kind of our favorite, as I've said many times, but also the pros about cruises. And then after that, I'm going to talk about the cons about cruises as well. As we try to grow this channel, we like to reward you guys for watching and subscribing. So because of that, every 5,000 milestone when it comes to subscribers, we give away a couple $1,000s worth of statues. We've actually given away over 20 statues. To win one was easy. First, you gotta be subscribed to the channel. You'll get bell notifications when videos drop. Each video that drops, you wanna make a comment on those videos. We pick a random video, we give away statues based on a comment. You can say whatever you want. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Pardon the abrupt stop, but as you saw in the title, this was part one because it was frankly just too long to show you what Juneau, Ketchikan, Icy Point Strait, the Hubbard Glacier, Michigan, all that is still coming on the next video. So make sure you're subscribed and hit that bell notification when you know that drops. See you at part two.